I love movies. Gosh, I love movies.
We come to this place for magic.
I watch a lot of movies.
You do?
Yeah, I watch about a movie a day.
Welcome to Symphomaniacs, a podcast by and for movie lovers. I'm Peyton.
And I'm Andrew, and today we're joined by a very special guest. Can you please show your name and what you do?
Yeah, hi, I'm Tim Anderson. I'm the programming manager at Enzian Theater in Orlando.
Thank you for joining us. We've been really excited for this one. I know the Enzian means a lot to us, our love of film, and getting to know people in the film community. We actually met there a couple of years ago at the Ginger Snaps screening.
Oh, man, I had to go through a lot of drama to get Ginger Snaps.
Oh, really? Oh my god, we'll have to get into that.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yes, this is definitely a fangirl episode for us. Embarrassingly, when we first released the Obsession episode, you were, I think, the first and only person to post about it that day. And we were like, oh my god, yeah. We've made it. Holy shit.
Wow, you gotta lower your standards. No. You gotta lower your standards.
No, you are, I think, for anyone that is in Orlando and loves film, definitely a local celebrity. I've had truly some of the best times with friends there. I think as someone who loves movies so much, the environment you help curate and the movies you program really mean a lot to people. So I don't think it's an overreaction. In that vein, Can you share more about what made you fall in love with movies and want to go down this path?
Yeah, I think I have to blame my mother. I didn't like sports as a kid. I was very not sportsy and I had asthma. So it's like a Scorsese story, right? Like I had to go to the movies and live there. But it's Florida and I moved here when I was 7 and it's miserable. I skateboarded and I BMX biked and that was great. But I didn't want to be on sports teams and I didn't want to do those kinds of things. And also just didn't really like school. But I would just watch all kinds of movies. And it does help that I'm 50. I was born in 75, the year that Jaws came out. And so I got to spend my entire upbringing at all the original movies that are now the IP that they just won't let die. So there's something I think about people that are roughly right around my same age that all of us kind of have a really intense relationship with movies. But I also think it's because, first of all, in the 80s, there wasn't that much to do. You either went outside and played with your friends. There were 6 channels to watch on TV. And if you're lucky, you got HBO as pay cable. So yeah, we would play video games and listen to music and skateboard and go to the movies. And so I don't know if I know when I fell in love with movies. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know that I was obsessed with movies in high school. And basically after I got out of high school, I had 2 kind of shitty jobs. And then I just basically drove the manager at Blockbuster nuts until she hired me. And then I spent 9 years working in either Blockbuster or I was the store manager of Suncoast Motion Picture Company, which was a retail sell-through store in the mall that sold only movies. So yeah, I was pretty into movies.
My mom did the same thing for me.
I did find my love of horror movies because she got sick once for Thanksgiving, and my dad and my brothers took them all out to Ryan's Steakhouse, which is just a garbage chain that's long gone. And I felt bad, so I'm going to stay home with my mom because she couldn't go. And there was nothing to do, and she was asleep because she had the flu. And Friday the 13th Part 3 was on TBS or TNT, one of the T's. And I watched that, and then that became a Thanksgiving tradition for a decade, where I would watch this recorded on VHS TV edit version of Friday the 13th Part 3, which was my first Friday the 13th movie.
That's awesome.
So I didn't know about Jason's mother until later on.
Oh my gosh.
I thought he always had the hockey mask. I didn't know.
That's such a funny one to come in on, true.
Yeah. And it's still kind of low-key the best one, I think.
Do you know what the programming is for next year's All-Nighter already?
I only know what I'm starting with. We announced yesterday, which was my birthday, but we're not going to have it on my birthday because next year my birthday, I think, is on Monday. Mm. So we were like, wait a minute, the Friday before is Friday the 13th. So instead of doing it on Saturday night, the 14th, we're stupid if we don't do this on Friday the 13th. Yeah. And then I'm not saying it's absolutely for sure going to be all horror movies, but it's probably going to be that or really genre adjacent. Because I truly don't have anything picked out but the first movie of the night.
You don't have to sell us anymore.
No, I'm not. I'm really happy. I was sad we had to put it off this year. We had a lot. The Odyssey is a very complicated programming at Enzian because of the print and the commitments to it. And also, there's been a lot of stuff going on around here, and I've been very, very busy. And I remember telling Paige, who's our marketing manager, who's also my programming assistant, there's no way we're pulling off the all-nighter this year. So it's been pretty much DOA for quite a while.
We just had the 5th weekend of the Odyssey's run. Are you okay?
No. I mean, I'm fine. Pete, our projectionist, is not doing so well, but we're switching to digital, and then hopefully we'll be able to play it off pretty quickly after that, because we have a ton of stuff lined up after it's all going to starting to get dumped on the website this week.
That does sound so intense. I just never thought about what the companies you're showing the movies on behalf of tell you. Like, you have to play it a certain amount of times.
Yeah, depending on the movie, depending on the company, and certainly depending on, the hype, there is a lot you can't do. And one of the things we had to do for the Odyssey is we had to clear 4 weeks of everything. So all the Freaky Fridays and Cult Classics and Saturday Night Classics and Uncomfortable Brunches that would have happened during the Odyssey all had to be just excised immediately up front to even get the movie. So that's put a lot of back programming on deck for the end of the year. So we're practically have no open weekends all the way to January.
Wow.
At this point. And we're still plugging stuff in, but a lot of it is stuff we knew. It's just a matter of getting it there.
That's exciting, though.
Yeah.
Did Universal just say this is the only movie you can play? Or?
They said if you're open and you're playing a movie, it must be the Odyssey. Which wouldn't be like, well, we wouldn't play the Odyssey at midnight on a Friday night, but their position was you are open and you are showing something. And the something you will be showing is the Odyssey. I mean, they're not that mean about it since this is going out on the internet. But yeah, their position is very simple. And that's the basics of it. If you're open and you're showing a movie, you have to be showing our movie. And we basically had to do that for a month.
I mean, has it brought more interest to the theater than you normally get?
We usually measure by how many percentage of tickets sold are members versus non, and usually like 15% of first run movies are members and maybe 25% of repertory is members, but the Odyssey 93% is non-member.
Wow.
So only 7% are member. So I think that's doing really, really well. It's the first movie with over 10,000 admissions since like Boyhood, and it's definitely the longest we've run a movie at Enzian since the pandemic. So you've got to go to 2019. Because I don't think maybe our Christmas movie from 2019, 2020 spread across might have gone 4 or 5 weeks. I don't remember. The pandemic feels like yesterday and also like 176 years ago. So it's really hard to remember. But it's probably the longest we played a movie in at least 6 years on a continuous run.
How do you balance that as programming manager between like finding the under the radar indies, repertory picks, and then something that you know is going to bring in people, something like the Odyssey or Oppenheimer?
I mean, the goal is to balance. So if you're bringing in a movie like, I wouldn't open Doomsday, even if it was in 70 millimeter, because it just doesn't feel like the movie you played an independent art cinema. And certainly there's argument to be had that the Odyssey or Oppenheimer don't necessarily qualify either. But I do think to a degree they do, because Nolan he uses the system to work outside of the system. Very few people have the ability to be able to get a green light on just about anything that they want to do. But they also essentially let him do whatever he wants to do because his track record is so high. There was always an argument like a million years ago that George Lucas was the most successful independent filmmaker ever. And it came back as an argument in 1999 when The Phantom Menace came out, because he fully funded the prequel trilogy out of his own bank account. Wow. And then just sold the distribution rights non-committal to 20th Century Fox. So after Star Wars, Empire, Jedi, the prequel trilogy, those movies were all still owned by George Lucas, and he licensed them to 20th Century Fox. But Star Wars was bought outright by 20th Century Fox, which was the whole argument. There was like an argument once being made that Disney bought 20th Century Fox for $5 billion solely to purchase the rights to Star Wars, the first movie, because there was no way they could ever get it out of Fox. With anything else, they could have just, when they bought Lucasfilm, it came. But they couldn't get Star Wars A New Hope. So you had to buy the whole company, basically, to get the movie.
That specific movie, or like
just
Star Wars,
that movie?
Brand?
No, just Star Wars. The brand was still owned by Lucas.
Okay,
because he negotiated.
He sold it earlier, right?
Yeah, he negotiated like the craziest deal ever because nobody thought the movie would make $1. So he got like 40% of the merchandising or something.
Wow.
On the movie, which is like billions of dollars. Yeah, it's crazy. It's definitely crazy. So they always made this argument that, like, well, Lucas doesn't actually use anybody else's money to make the movies, so he's an indie filmmaker. And you could kind of say Coppola did that with Megalopolis.
Yeah.
Which is like he sold a chunk of the vineyard to fund, like, the weirdest movie I watched definitely in the last couple of years.
Honestly, if billionaires are going to put their money towards something, I'm kind of okay with it being just really crazy movies.
I think that they should let them make these completely, totally nuts films. Like, I don't need to watch Megalopolis again, but, like, the whole time I watched it, I was like, hell yeah, dude, you go. You do whatever you want there.
I'm glad he made it. Did you ever see the one that, was it Twix?
Twix.
The one that, like, he edited live?
I actually like that movie. I know people don't, but I think it's got a great vibe to it. It's like his David Lynch movie. So
Elle Fanning's in that, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that one.
I haven't either.
It's weird. He doesn't care anymore.
I like some of the points in Megalopolis where you could tell that they were, like, doing acting exercises almost. Like, let's just say this same line back and forth over and over. There's a scene where Heidi Gardner has to retake a line, and they left in both takes. Kinda
I'm pretty
nuts.
sure they ad-libbed the entire Hamlet monologue that's in the movie, too. Like, I think that wasn't in the script. He was like, I'm just going to, like, say a bunch of stuff from Hamlet now. And it's like, yeah, you go, girl. You do. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see all these filmmakers do. But in terms of the balance between that and indies is that, yeah, we try to be really careful about it. I think you can see that from most of Enzian's normal programming schedule, which is that there'll be a big movie that, you know, everybody's going to play, like Hamnet. But then peppered in between that's going to be all the smaller stuff that we really want to get on the screen. That's like what's going to come up behind the Odyssey. It's going to be like a lot smaller things that we're really excited about.
Speaking of that, do you have any white whales of programming, both that you've already shown and one that you still want to?
Such a hard question. I tried at the very beginning, and I've been doing this now for 11 years here, was to look at my top 100 films of all time and figure out if it was possible to program every single one of them. And I would tell you that I probably got almost all of them. The way that it worked out is that I also program with Coralie Gleason, who's the chief curator for the Orlando Museum of Art. We program a free art film series that we've been doing for 2.5 years. That's allowed me to program stuff that was on that list that I wouldn't be able to play at Enzian, like Maya Deren films or Jonas Mekas stuff or Stan Brakhage. Because it's really hard to do that in the theater. You know, most of these are very short. Some are 5 minutes long, 7 minutes long. And you'd have to put collections together of them. And once you build those collections with all the materials, it's not cheap to program. So it's real questionable if I did 75 minutes of Stan Brakhage short films that I could get enough people to even show up for it to make the money back it's spent to get all the material here for it. So that's really worked out really well. I mean, I don't know, like last year's All-Nighter put 2 movies on the screen that I would tell you was impossible. And that was BMX Bandits, which took me negotiating with a distribution company in Australia while they were at the Cannes Film Festival to get the rights to the movie to play it. And then the other one was Midnight Madness, which we had to get an exception from the Walt Disney Corporation, specifically because it was for my birthday, to play the movie because Disney requires the films to only be shown in 35mm or DCP. And this movie has nothing, like literally no material at all on it because it's 46 years old and it bombed and no one cared about it. And I think it's just one of the best movies ever. Putting those on screen was like, there was never a real idea in my mind that I could even execute that. So yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff has gone up over the years. There is a movie that is on my dream list to play, and that movie is Thundercrack, directed by Kurt McDowell and starring George Kuchar. I don't believe there's a scenario where I'll ever be able to execute playing it. It's problematic on multiple regards. It's almost 3 hours long. It's black and white. It has hardcore footage in it. It also came out in 1975, the same year as Rocky Horror, and I think it's hilarious because it has serious Rocky Horror vibes because everybody arrives at the mansion where all the crazy stuff's going on in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere, in a pouring down rainstorm. And then they get there and everybody who's in the mansion is crazy. I don't know how to do it. It's too long. It's too adult. There's no way I can convince people to go just to see it. I'd almost have to make it a secret screening and just be like, oh, you're here now. But we'd have to disclose some of the content. We've shown some pretty sketchy stuff at midnight. But I wouldn't necessarily jump scare the audience with hardcore sex scenes. So, without you knowing what you were getting into. So, yeah, doubtful. That's the white whale. Like, it would have to be, but it's also the white whale and the idea that, I'll probably die like Ahab does before it gets on the screen. So,
have you ever looked into, access for that one? Or
it's available. I could book it today. For years, it was really, really hard to come by. I've had a bootleg of it for probably 20 years. And then about 8 or 9 years ago, they did a full restoration of it and released it onto Blu-ray. That was, I believe that Blu-ray release is the first ever sellable version of the movie it had ever had. So it probably took 40 years for them to even get somebody to agree to put it out to buy. George Creature's done a lot of other stuff and interesting stuff with Kurt McDowell, including Muscle Distribution just ran a Kickstarter to restore 4 classic films of the 70s. And one of them is going to be a Kuchar McDowell film that has never been released, I believe, onto any format where people could rent it or buy it or watch it. I'm excited about that. Liz Purcell, who helped us get Onabot for the Real Pride series.
I think us, Josh, Michelle, Kyle, Sarah, Zach, I think we could word of mouth that out and get a lot of people to show up.
We'd be there if nothing else.
It's something. It's something special.
I loved how Zach went to the all-nighter last year and gave every movie a scathing review.
Yeah.
It's
but I like all of them because he's very well written.
Yeah.
And I was a critic for 20 years, and so I wrote lots of negative reviews of things. I don't care. I got the money. In programming, I want everybody to go and I want everybody to have a good time. And if you don't have a good time, I always feel a little bad. I definitely reached out to somebody once who was like, this was the worst thing I ever seen. It really upset me, blah, blah, blah. And I wrote to them and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. This is on their letterbox. I was just like, hey, thank you so much for coming out. I don't want you to come and have a bad time. I will give you free tickets to the next one. If you want to come to it. And they were like, oh, no, it wasn't that. It's just not very good. And I was like, no, it's totally valid. I mean, I have nothing against people's taste in movies. I don't think people have my taste in movies. You like what you like. I never yuck anybody's yum because I'm definitely into movies that people hate.
I think you've expanded my movie horizons recently, with Repo Man or The Warriors. Those are movies I never would have seen. So I think anything that specifically is coming from you is usually going to be something that has not been on my radar, and that's going to be unlike anything I've seen before. And so I've liked all of them. I don't think there's any I've not enjoyed, but a new experience like that is always awesome. Yeah.
Also, I think to some degree, watching these in a movie theater with a bunch of other people, and for the most part, we usually have at least 100 people in most of these screenings. And if it's something like Repo Man, there's 200 people in it. That kind of group dynamic that happens when you watch the films with everybody. I mean, all of it. I always used to tell people that watching a movie in a movie theater makes bad movies better. Mm-hmm. Because if you're at home, especially now when you're on your devices all the time, it's so easy to check out and just be whatever they're saying in the background, glance back over to the screen or something like that. And I mean, I try to not do that, but I mean, I'm still subsequent to that problem. When a movie gets really dull, I'll be starting to think well, I really need to see what happens in it next, but let's look up the whole cast on IMDb and find out what else they've done. But doing it in the theater, it does help. It'll make a really bad movie that's stupid way better, because usually the audience will be like, oh my god, and then they'll just get into the stupidity of it all. I don't care if a movie's good or bad. I care when a movie's boring.
That is the cardinal
I'd rather watch terrible than boring. But I also like a lot of movies that people would be like, dude, that's boring. So, because I'm booking Tarkovsky and Bellatar films here. People aren't necessarily running around telling you that they're watching Michael Bay films.
I think watching them with an audience definitely enhances the experience. Something like, Repo Man, I think just seeing the way people react, hearing people laugh, makes it more engaging than watching it at home.
Or even Happiness was my first uncomfortable brunch. Yeah. And that had great audience reactions. I know the couple sitting next to me left. I think they were a 75-year-old couple and they just walked out.
Fair.
But everyone else was cackles. Just you could hear people tittering throughout, having a really good time. And I really fell in love with that one.
It's an uncomfortable movie. It's a movie I saw in the theater when it came around the first time. And I'm telling you, it was uncomfortable. Watching it in a movie theater the very, very first time. There was a lot of great movies that came out in that mid-90s indie boom. But a lot of people did push a lot of buttons that no one in what you would consider to be some version of mainstream cinema was touching a lot of the topics that people started doing in the mid-90s. You had to get underground films from the 70s and things like that, to have people discussing the kind of things or showing the kind of content that was in a lot of those movies. And I do think that was reactionary to some of the 80s being a little more conservative, and the 90s being kind of one of the least conservative windows I've ever lived through. And so cinema got to reflect that a lot, which I think is a fun time, because for me, that was the time that I was in college and high school. And so it was very prone to influence, I guess. And I already liked weird stuff. Really, sometime between like 89 and 93, I'd gone kind of fully down the rabbit hole of John Waters and David Lynch and Andy Warhol and Paul Morrissey and all of those things that you could rent in the cult video section of the video store. And so then when people like Todd Solondz came out and did Welcome to the Dollhouse, which I'm very excited about playing 35mm of soon, and Happiness, like, I think we were built for it a little bit. We were a little bit ready for it, but then we were still like, what am I doing? I'm in a movie theater at like 3 o'clock on a Sunday watching this completely upsetting movie. Yeah, it doesn't make you feel great about yourself. And then he got so much more extreme after that Happiness looks like a Disney movie, practically.
Was there a lot of laughter at that Happiness screening?
There was. Yeah, it's a funny movie.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
we saw it at Sunray recently, and I know there was a lot of laughter. I felt like there was laughter at kind of the wrong moments, like laughing at Dylan
That's
Baker's
true.
monologue toward the end.
But that's likely uncomfortable laughter. Like, you're like kind of like laughing at it and being like, I can't believe I'm laughing at what he's saying, because everything he's doing in this movie is just the worst thing you could possibly do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's interesting that way. But I noticed that, like, when you were talking about Repo Man, like, obviously people in there are, first that was stacked. Like, there's a bunch of old crust punks in there already. There were lines of dialogue that when they dropped, like, everybody laughed. Is that line that funny? Maybe not, but it's pretty iconic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I liked about having that screening. It was funny, I think it was Orlando Shine called us out. Or it was Weekly who said, like, we're showing Repo Man at the unpunk hour of 11 a.m. on, like, a Saturday, which is accurate.
Yeah.
But it was pretty fun to be able to pull off doing Repo Man at 11 a.m. on a Saturday and having 200 people come out and do it. Also, we're old punks, and 11 a.m. is good. But yeah, there's a lot of leathery skin with faded tattoos and skinny jeans on men that should have stopped wearing those decades ago. Combat boots at the ready, battle vests, and DOA t-shirts. So, you know.
That's something I love about going to like a Monday night screening or something. Just seeing old couples, 70, 80 years old, and just watching like the weirdest shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, so you can still like cool things when you're old.
You can.
It's encouraging.
It's encouraging. Don't immature. People are always like, wow, you're so on. I was like, no, I'm just like, it's Arrested Development.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just still actively 15.
I saw Bottoms at the Enzian with my friend Emma, and it was us and a bunch of old couples. So we got to like talk with them about the movie after and see how it worked for different generations. And that was really cool.
Yeah,
And
Enzian, they have a unique base because it is an arts base. I don't know if you went to Bottoms at Regal, if your audience would have had those people in it.
Exactly.
So,
Well, I saw it at Regal, and I was between like a bunch of 20s
Yeah.
lesbian couples, basically. So.
yeah, that's what I would,
Target
and which is
audience.
yeah, that's exactly what I would expect to see. So yeah, there is sometimes some really fun stuff to go to Enzian and be like, wow, this is a wild cross section.
Mm-hmm.
So you grew up in Florida, right?
More or less, been here since I was 7.
In this general area too, right?
Yeah.
So you grew up in Florida, but every once in a while you'll say something like, oh, I saw that movie at Cannes, or
Mhm.
they used to run the podcast for Bloody Disgusting. So I'm just wondering, what can you tell us about sort of your odyssey, being a boy from Florida, going and doing all these things, ending back up in Florida?
I mean, like I said, I watched a lot of movies, and then I got a job at Blockbuster, and then I got a job at Suncoast Motion Picture Company. And at the time, I was like, the college ending part of it, I was writing a lot about music. And then I ended up getting a job for a paper in Sarasota that was based at New College. It was like an underground arts like magazine. And so for that, I started writing like a lot of music reviews, and we were going to a lot of shows. 94, 95, 96 in Orlando was really, really big. Atlantic Records actually had an outpost here just to sign bands. And Orlando was very odd. It was based like a half grunge scene, and the other half of it, Rolling Stone had named Orlando as the rave capital of the world at the time. And so there was raves every night of the week. So you would go to a show, you'd stay there at 3 o'clock in the morning, the club would shut down, it would reopen instantaneously. Then there'd be a rave until dawn. You get out, you go try to find the one last hot dog cart guy at dawn that still had like one sausage left. And then you try to go sit on a street corner and sober up to get in your car so you could go home and get home by like 7, 8 in the morning and go to bed. So it was really interesting time. But because I was doing all that writing, all that music, I was really burned out on the music scene. It's also very hard to be objective about music. Like, it's very easy to say, like, hey, they play their instruments, or they can't play their instruments, but they do it in a really cool way. But if at the end of the day you just don't vibe with the music, it's very hard to continually write about it in new and interesting ways. So I said to them, I was like, I'd really rather just write about movies. And they were like, well, we don't really write about movies. And I was like, but we can. And so they just let me do that. And then in 2000, they sent me to South by Southwest in Cannes. I'd met a lot of people doing things around there at that time as well. My brother was my younger brother got on the PGA Tour, and he met a bunch of people, and then he would be like, hey, I met this guy and they work for the Golf Channel, and he knows this guy who works for this company, and like blah, 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 blah. So I went out to LA for a little while. And I worked for The Tonight Show with Jay Leno through a contact that my brother knew one of the field producers there. Ultimately, I just really, there was going to be another writer's strike, and everybody was getting basically like, you got to go live on somebody's couch for 8 weeks because we don't know if it's ever going to end. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go home. So I just came back here and bought a condo and just figured out what I was going to do with my life. And I took a couple of years of hiatus, and then I got back in the scene. And I started working with like a lot of local filmmakers, and I was doing some producing. I was producing music videos and things like that, and some short films. And I produced a feature for Jay Channel, who is a trans filmmaker from West Virginia. And she had been making a vampire comedy. Ooh. So I basically helped her get that done, and we sold that, and it got distribution. It was, you could buy it in Best Buy because it was the glory days of anybody could make a movie and get it on Best Buy shelves. That's really when I talked to Brad Miska in 2005 about Bloody Disgusting. They were very new. There were 3 people that worked there.
Wow.
And he was like, you should write for me. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, go see the Fog remake. And I was like, why? And he's like, I need you to write about it. I was like, it's fucking terrible. And he's like, you haven't seen it yet. And I was like, don't need to. But I did. I went that night to like a 6 o'clock screening of the Fog. I pumped out like 1,000 words on it. I sent it back to me. He's like, you're hired. And I was like, cool. And then for like 9 years, I was the managing editor of Bloody Disgusting. And then I started programming here at Enzian with Central Florida Film Slam. And after a little bit of that, Matthew, as the program director, was like, hey, you're actually pretty good at this. You should program for the Florida Film Festival. So I did that. And then a few years later, they offered me this job. And I started it in 2015.
And so we're forever grateful.
That's the journey. There's no roadmap. People were like, what did you do to get this job? And I was like, I don't know. I did like 75 other jobs.
It seems like everyone I talk to over a certain age, what they thought they were going to do is not what they ended up doing. Like almost universally.
Yeah, this would, I guess, be career 3 for me if you're going to look at it that way. But I would tell you also that everybody I know that is roughly of my age, unless they went to become doctors or lawyers or something like that, nobody I know does a job that they went to college to study. Like, unless they're a doctor or they're a lawyer, I literally don't think I can name a single person I still know that I knew when I was a teenager that is even remotely doing what they had planned to do. Which is one of those things I used to tell people all the time. I was like, just get a college degree in anything. Because a lot of times they just want proof that you could commit long enough to get out. Because at the end of the day, they don't give a damn what your degree is in. I mean, I have friends that are like CPAs and they didn't even go to school for that. Like, they just got into it later.
And that's kind of what I found. I went to school for film at UCF, and I'm not working in film, but most of the places I've applied to didn't really care. They're like, oh, you got the degree?
They don't care.
Okay.
Yeah, they literally don't care. That's why I've told people I know that are younger, like, hey, if you don't desperately do this, you should just get like University of Phoenix online degrees, and like where you don't have to leave your house and it costs 1/3 of what it costs to do. And there's nobody cares at the end of the day. They just say you proved you did it.
As long as it's on there.
Yeah.
So what does the day-to-day of a programming director look like?
Well, Matthew's technically the programming director, so I don't want to steal his thunder. And I don't know what his day is like that much. From mine, when I come in the morning, I answer email, and then I go through whatever we're working on. So if that'll be like, today I came in and it was like, hey, we've got to finish up. I locked down Attack of the Killer Tomatoes for Freaky Friday. So let's get the materials together. So I met with Paige and marketing, and we sat there and we played all of that out. Today, of course, the film festival opened, so I was really busy. But for the most part, I'm sending email, writing material, watching random short films that people send me that ask for notes on. It's mostly friends. We got meetings about Florida Film Festival. We got meetings about 13 Films of Halloween. We got to talk about the South Asian Film Festival and the Jewish Film Festival and the Brouhaha Film and Video Showcase. So all those things are kind of in flux right now. And so it's a matter of like, can I get all of this done? Can I get all this done? Can I get all this done? Because on the 9th of September, I've got to leave for Toronto to go to the film festival. And then I'll be gone for 8 days. And I'll come back and then we've got to execute most of this stuff. So really these last 6 weeks are crazy because they're planning everything that happens from pretty much September 1st till December 31st at the theater. It never ends. But I would say at least 50% of my day is answering email. During festival time, I usually answer 100 emails a day, like on average.
Wow. Do you have a movie at TIFF you're most excited for?
No. I usually try not to get into the hype. And that way, when I'm there, I'm a little more malleable to other things that people see. Toronto puts their industry screenings usually in one of two places. They're usually day of the world premiere, but before it, which means you can't really get anybody's opinion. Or a lot of times they're the morning after. And then they'll put a few of those together. And that will allow me to talk to friends of mine who actually want to go to the premiere screenings, how they were. And I just don't love to go to the premiere screenings because I'm already not sleeping when I'm in Toronto. Like, I'm going to bed about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting up about 7 o'clock in the morning to get ready for the next movie. So because of that, I don't necessarily want to go to a 2-hour movie's world premiere at Toronto because that will have a 15 minutes of introduction. Then it will have like a 5 to 8 minute trailer pack of just the thank you for coming to TIFF. Then you have a 2-hour movie. Then you have a 30-minute Q&A. And it's like, that's great if I lived in Toronto and I was paying $50 to $80 to see this movie and I get to have that whole experience. I just want to watch the 2-hour movie and leave. I can do that in the press and industry screenings. I just don't get to watch all the fun Q&As. And sometimes I do it. I did it for Heretic. I was like, Sophie Thatcher's going to be there.
Oh,
shut up. I'm going to this. So sometimes I will do it, but it's not that often.
Okay.
I saw The Substance at its screening, and that was really cool. And they had Margaret Qualley there, and Demi Moore.
Making us jealous now.
And so that was really nice to be able to do that. And that was actually on the fly. A friend of mine who programs for another film festival, she's like, hey, my friend had a ticket and she's sick and she's not coming, so you want to go to The Substance with me?
Wow.
And I was like, yes. Yes, I do.
Yes, please.
It must be fun to get it on the ground floor with a movie that ends up being huge. I know we sort of feel that way with Obsession, just having seen it at the Florida Film Festival. In what capacity are you going to TIFF? Are you scouting movies you'll show at the Florida Film Festival, show at the Enzian? Or...
It's 50-50.
Yeah.
TIFF releases all the Oscar bait, either TIFF, Venice, Telluride, or New York Film Festival. If it's going to be up for an Oscar, it's going to be playing at one of those 4 festivals. And they have overlap. So stuff that plays at New York Film Festival won't play at TIFF, but stuff that plays at TIFF might play at Telluride. Stuff that plays at Venice almost always plays at TIFF. So if something's over at Venice and you're hearing oh, it won the Golden Lion, or blah, 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 and you're like, oh, I better go see it then. It's 50% what are we looking at for Enzian for December, January, and then it's 50% what can I find for the film festival. So I'm going to the Midnight Madness stuff and things like that, which is of course where I saw Obsession. On top of that, a lot of the foreign stuff takes forever to loop around, especially if it's world premiering Toronto and it's international. So a lot of times I'm looking at really interesting programming that might even be not usable for 2 years. Or I might want for the South Asian Film Festival. At that point, it'll be 12 months later. It's really useful. I don't go to Sundance. They go to Sundance. I also find that Sundance is more problematic in that way because a lot of Sundance stuff just goes right to the theaters immediately after Sundance. And then the rest of it can't get bought. And then it's just milling about for forever. So some of that we kind of will look at as well. But the window to do that for festival is far too small. We have 2 weeks after Sundance is over to program the entire rest of the Florida Film Festival. So if the movie didn't sell it immediately at Sundance, they have no distribution plan and they're still trying to figure out what to do with it. A lot of times there's no value in those movies other than seeing them and enjoying them. But at Toronto, I really feel like I work. I see, a minimum of 4 movies a day, up to 6. And I just do that nonstop for the entire time I'm there.
Wow.
And then every once in a while I go to meetings or go to a party or see some friends and get dinner. But a lot of times there'll be a day where I literally never left the Scotiabank Theater from 8 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock at night. And I ate their kind of bad poutine. It's like the Regal version of poutine. But you know what? That's just high calorie content to get you through life. Like 2,000 calories of goo.
I tried to do a different item on the menu every time we went to one of the Enzian screenings.
Yeah.
The Florida Film Festival.
Do you
Just
have a
because we
favorite
were going
item?
to be there for like a week straight, so I might as well mix it up a little bit.
The Cuban was our favorite,
That's my
for a
favorite.
while, but the grilled cheese, really, with tomato soup especially.
I like
really
the grilled
hits.
cheese by adding tomato and bacon to it.
I had this flatbread. I think it was like Fantastic Fungi or
Oh,
something.
fantastic
It was,
fungi.
It was kind of intense. It was like the stinkiest cheese and onions
Yeah.
and everything, but it was good.
Yeah, he's
Like,
been talking about it since he
Nice.
had it.
I'm like, do you want to try this? She's like, no. It's like, good for you though.
I'm not a huge mushroom gal, so that's
Oh, I
the only
love
reason.
mushrooms.
Yeah, I'm a big mushroom fan.
So the Florida Film Festival for next year just opened for submissions.
Yes.
What does that look like for the next few months for you as a member of the selection committee?
Yes, and also question, how long does it take you on average to go through all of the submissions?
I mean, how that looks is that for the next 4 months, I'm going to be pushing movies into all my team's queues and getting all their feedback, and then watching what I have to watch for myself, but also watching what they like. So it's just busy. We're talking about like roughly 3,000 submissions. The second part of it is kind of impossible to answer because I don't have my own calculation for how much time I spend doing it. But like every year I calculate what the teams have done. And I think last year it was like 176 straight days,
Wow.
24/7. So you're talking about, like 4 months and they're watching more than 50% of a year's worth of 24 hours, 7-day-a-week content. So however many that ends up being like 4,000 hours of programming. So it's just, I mean, for mine, it is mostly just trying to keep them sane and on a schedule so that they don't burn out. Because the better you utilize the schedule, the less likely you are to want to die by like week 3.
Yeah.
So I'd like to joke about how did they build it, like just like one brick at a time. Like that's exactly how you get through this. Like you say like, hey, I'm watching 10 shorts this week. And then when you're all said and done, somehow you watch 600 shorts. But it's just because you just did it. Because if I just told everybody like on December 1st, like, hey, here's 700 hours of programming, nobody would do it. Like, it would never get done.
That's how we're going to get through 58,000.
You're actually never going to do that.
No.
You're at
I've done the math.
52,000 now.
You did the math?
I've done the math. It was like, what was it? I think I'd have to watch like 3 movies a day for 40 years or something. And that's
All right, do
assuming
you
I
feel
don't
that
have
you
kids
feel
on-
you have 40 years left?
He's
Like, just
30.
checking.
He's 30.
Oh,
in
you
1
got
month,
this. You
so-
got this.
Another 40 years.
Yeah.
You got 40
There
years.
you
But
I'm
new
obsessive
movies come
movie
out.
watching. I was watching like 6 a day, so if I go back to that, I could get through it eventually.
On my peak movie watching, which was in my very, very early 20s while I was a Blockbuster and had nothing really interesting going on in my life, I was watching about 6 movies a day. Like there's a year where I watched this was not being paid to do it and not shorts. So there's a year, maybe 95, maybe 96, I can't really remember. It was the year that I was no longer at Blockbuster, and Blockbuster did a $30 all-you-can-rent per month deal, and I was the record holder at the Lake Mary location for in 30 days renting 106 films. Which is not bad, actually. It only breaks down to like 4 a day. But I was going in there literally on like a weekend. I had a job. I was a full-time job. I'd go on a Thursday at 10 a.m. when they open, rent the max 6 movies they would give me, go home, watch them, go back at 9 o'clock that night, turn them in, and rent 6 more. They really hated me. Like,
You're his role model in that way.
I mean, doing that pre-digital is
Even more
it's a lot of
impressive.
commitment.
yeah, luckily I was only about 10 minutes from the Blockbusters. But I did do that multiple times. And then eventually I had rented the entire contents of like 3 Blockbusters and 2 Hollywood video stores. And I don't mean everything in the store, but like I would go in and be like, I want your classics and your cult film section and your foreign film section. And then I would just go first line, and I'd be like, didn't see that movie, haven't seen that movie, haven't seen that movie. It didn't even matter what they were about. I was literally just renting every classic Hollywood movie because I had decided that I was like, this is how I'm going to learn everything about movies. I'm just going to watch every movie. And so, I mean, I think I've got 15,000 logged into the Letterboxd, but I'm sure it's way wrong. Because I'll still find really obvious movies that I never logged. Like said I saw like Armageddon or something. So I was watched well over 1,000 movies that year.
That's incredible.
Like features. Now I watch 800 or so a year anyway, but like 400 or 500 of those are shorts. So it's a lot less terrifying.
2020 and 2021, both those years I had over 1,000 features, but I was working from home during the lockdown, so I would just like shake my mouse, log on to work, and like put something on the other screen. When that finished, I'd put something else on. Now it's a little harder, but still more than, I guess, the average person.
So 3 movies a day for the next 40 years, but you can't watch any new material.
Yeah. I could develop an interesting taste that way. Just like my taste is frozen in time before this year.
And then when you're 70, you run into that conundrum again, because then you have all the movies you've
That'll be
missed.
40,000 new films.
Yeah, I have to catch up on the last 40 years of movies now.
I'm going to have to go into your list because I don't even know how you can put 58,000 movies in it.
I don't think
One
I've
brick at a
ever
time.
clicked on a movie on Letterboxd and he's not in the want to watch section.
I mean, the real secret is that you can press add all on Letterboxd. So
and add lists.
I'm like,
add lists.
Yeah.
That'll do it, yeah.
So I go to like best slasher movies, and there'd be like 2,000. I'm like, oh, I like slasher movies at all. And then you go through it, and there are movies with like 10 logs. I'm like, am I really going to watch this?
I always like to open those lists up and just see the percentage of stuff I've already seen, and then I close the list again. But you know what the fun thing about Letterboxd is? There's a Rollins College student, she's working on a project about Enzian, and I got this message from her like last week, and she was like, hey, so like, on Letterboxd, you're the only person who's seen this movie, Skate Town, USA. She's like, how? And first of all, I should say that Skate Town, USA is this horrible roller disco movie from 1979. It stars Patrick Swayze, has like Maureen McCormick from The Brady Bunch and Ron Palillo from Welcome Back, Kotter. And it's a terrible roller disco movie that just stars shirtless Patrick Swayze on roller skates, dancing on a dance floor. And she's like, how? Where? And I was like, so I own this movie from a bootleg website like 20 years ago that I bought it from. And so I brought it over to the Enzian box office and dropped it off for her to go pick up and watch. Sometimes filling that list out and clicking off those boxes is not as easy as you think. Because there are movies out there that I still try to find that I've been looking for decades that I've never seen. So a lot of it is more obscure underground stuff. But that's the sort of the beauty of 2020. For all the bad things in 2026, one of the greatest things is sort of, you can find 99% of what I want to watch on the internet somewhere. It's amazing how many just totally rando movies are just been bootlegged and thrown onto YouTube. I watched this terrible made-for-TV movie from like 1990 that essentially starred like NBC's entire sitcom and drama, young cast stars of every single one of their shows were all in this terrible movie where they go to camp together. And I was like, how did I live through this and not see this movie? So I'm Googling and they didn't put it on VHS. They didn't put it on. I look it up. It's totally on YouTube. So I watched it. It's awful. It was so bad. But, God bless YouTube. And just copyright be damned.
Yeah, I usually find if you can't rent it somewhere, check YouTube. Someone probably uploaded it.
Yeah, I sent somebody a movie years and years and years ago where they were like, how can you watch this? And I was like, it's on YouTube, but you've got to watch it in like 32 parts. It was like every 6 minutes the movie had it. But somebody had finally built a playlist for it.
Have you seen White Man's Burden with John Travolta?
I saw that when it came out.
Oh, wow. That was one I couldn't find. I listened to a podcast episode about how ridiculous it was.
It's pretty bad, and I can't
really
tell you
wanted
much
to
about
watch
it.
And he found it for me on YouTube. So I was like,
who's the other person in it? It's not Sam Jackson, right? It's like Harry Belafonte or somebody really crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who it is. Right?
Is it Harry Belafonte?
I think so.
It might be. Like, I'm telling you, like, I saw this, it's probably from like 1995 or 6. Like, that's when I saw it. That's all I can remember about it is John Travolta, and I think he had like weird auburn hair, which is not his hair. Anyway, so weird auburn fake hair. And
extreme black scent going on.
Can't remember anything about it.
Do you know what it's about?
It's like a world where white people are treated like black people.
Or how the director thinks that
yeah
that would happen.
Yeah, I can't. I wouldn't even remember that was the plot. I just went the other night. I just watched Life with like Jake Gyllenhaal and it's got all
And
kinds of
Ryan
people in it.
Reynolds?
I looked at it and I was like, have I seen this movie? I was like, I'm gonna watch it because I can't figure out if I did watch it. I don't remember anything about it. And then I watched it and I just turns out I never saw it. And it's terrible. Like every once in a while, and that's sort of the craziest thing I think that's happening about being a programmer now and being so inundated in the film world since 2015 that I still watch all the stuff that I want to watch for fun. But I think I miss a lot more of the bigger mainstream movies that don't look wildly interesting to me because I think I'll watch that later and there is never later in my life anymore. And so every once in a while I'll go back and watch something and tell everybody I watched that and they're like, how did you not see that? And I was like, I don't know. One of them I watched was that movie with Chris Pratt. It's Passengers.
Oh, yeah.
Which, like, the whole movie is, like, the most problematic movie ever.
Yes.
Because he's, like, lying to her and assaulting her. And I remember watching the movie and I was like, oh my God, who made this movie? And I came in, I think I told Paige about it, and she was like, where have you been? Like, how did you not follow this when it was going down? And I was like, it sounds like something that I would have heard was happening and been like, of course it is. And then just ignored it. And I watched it, it's terrible. So I had that going for me.
It's a horror movie. Secretly.
I mean, yeah, like, high key. I just remember watching it thinking, like, every bad decision you could make as you wrote the script, they took that choice.
Like, if they were going to make that decision with them, they should have made him a villain. Or, like, or made him problematic. Don't, like, have him do something problematic, but then try to make him the, flawless hero.
I mean, they didn't succeed at that. He is wildly problematic.
It's like Don't Breathe 2.
I wouldn't watch that either. I actually refused to watch that on the basis of what they told me happened to the character from the first movie in this movie. And I was like, I'm good. I'm not going to watch that. And that's rare because I'll watch any horror movie. I might not watch this new Eli Roth thing.
We actually talked about that on our last episode on Tony. We only saw it because it was the Scream Unseen. We didn't want to give him money. And it was not good. It was.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who saw it who says it's good, and obviously I know there's lots of other problems with it as well.
The AI is obvious often,
and
I can't imagine why he made that choice.
I mean, you could cut out every AI scene and you wouldn't lose anything. Like,
not true. Well, do you mind a spoiler?
I don't believe in spoilers.
So the ice cream on the ice cream truck is AI. Like the ice cream truck design.
Oh, really?
So you kind of need that.
Well, that's just lazy.
Yeah.
That's really lazy.
Pay someone a few $100s to draw it or something. Like,
I've always maintained this controversial position that I don't believe spoilers exist. I don't personally believe that you can claim a movie to be a truly great movie until you've seen it at least twice. There's lots of movies where I'm like, oh my God, that twist was amazing. There is no rewatchability now in this movie because it didn't do it good enough it only existed to have the shocking change up moment. And to me, I think that movies that do those kinds of things, you need to be able, if you can rewatch them and see like how they told you it all in the movie, but you didn't pay attention to it. I love that. But I've always told people it doesn't matter if you tell me what happens in a movie because if the movie's still good, I'm still going to like the movie. And if it's not good, that's not going to be the reason that I didn't like it because I knew that was coming. I always tell people one of the great anecdotal stories is that my mom and I would see The Usual Suspects when it came out. So I was also in 1985. It's a good big year this year. And I tapped her on the shoulder 20 minutes into the movie and I was like, I'm just saying this now, but I'm pretty sure Kevin Spacey did that. And the movie ended and they were like, he's Kaiser Soze. And I was like, didn't even need to watch it. So, and it was just the structure of how it's set up means if that's not how it ends, it's disappointing. It's going to be disappointing. I mean, the worst thing a movie can do is just be and the killer was this guy you never met. So it's obvious that the guy who's telling you this insanely overly complicated detailed story, this is a spoiler if you haven't seen this movie in the past 31 years, is that the guy who's being interrogated is the guy who did it all. And they're going to let him go. But I remember tapping around, and that happens a lot.
Do you find it rewatchable after that?
I do. I've seen it a bunch of times. Now, it's been a really long time since I watched it, but I'll say that it's because the script is so well written and the characters are so interesting. And I think the people that they got to perform Like Kevin Pollak and Stephen Baldwin, like they're just owning that movie. And Benicio del Toro, I mean, the joke in the movie is that nobody can even understand what he says. And like, it still totally works. So yeah, I think it helps that the movie's got a very well-written script, which of course is written by Christopher McQuarrie, who later went on to give Tom Cruise the never-ending Mission Impossible movies. And he's a really, really good screenwriter. Yeah, I think that helps a lot, because there was a lot of movies that came out about the same time, post-Pulp Fiction, that were just terrible, pseudo-gangster movies.
What's the movie written by Christopher McQuarrie? I think it was written by him, starring like John Cusack.
Oh.
It's almost like... It's like everyone's trapped in a hotel and...
It's
like they wrote the
Identity.
Identity, yes.
Yeah.
It was like they came up with the twist and then like worked backwards, and it just doesn't make sense at all. Like as you're watching the movie. But
yeah, it's a really interesting movie. I mean, it's playing on a trope that TV had used decades earlier, which is that it's all in the mind of someone who's not even in the movie.
So that show at the hospital, right? It's like
the idea is it's when St. Elsewhere ended on the air.
I was going to say St. Elmo's Fire.
It backs out to like a snow globe of the hospital, and it turns out the entire movie took place in like an autistic kid's mind. And it's a stupid ending, but ironically, that trope has been used a lot in the future. But I mean, that's just an unreliable narrator trope that goes back forever. It's just interesting. I did like Identity. What I did like about Identity was the idea that it's 10 Little Indians. It's Agatha Christie's 10 Little Indians. But the twist is that nobody's even there that's in this movie.
Well, it's all right.
It's showtime, folks.
Well, you want to talk about Ghost World a bit?
Yeah, we should definitely talk about Ghost World. So this is very much a bucket list movie.
So what made you choose Ghost World as your birthday movie?
So I couldn't put it on my birthday because of I usually do the one that's closest to August 16th, which would have been, I think, the 11th this year. But the Odyssey pushed that off. So we're now on the reel-to-reel system at Enzian, and I'm not on the platter, which means it got to open up some archives that we weren't able to get into before. And one of those is MGM's archive. The first thing we asked for from the archive that has MGM's titles in it was Ghost World. It's on Anniversary. It's one of my favorite movies. I tried years ago to do an event, sort of like I did with But I'm a Cheerleader, where I got Clea Duvall and Tasha Leone. I really wanted to I was never getting Scarlett Johansson to show up, but I really wanted to see if I could get Thora Birch and Terry Zwigoff and maybe Daniel Klaus to come to the theater for the 20th anniversary. The problem being the 20th anniversary was 2021, and nobody wanted to even leave their house still in 2021. So it kind of fell apart. I never got back to it. So I grabbed this as fast as possible and put it up. It's just one of those movies where when I saw it, it was a culmination of all of my interests wrapped into one movie that I didn't anticipate. I was very familiar with Robert Crumb, and I was very familiar with Zwigoff's documentary on him, which had come out, I think, in like 96 or 94, I forget. I also really like the weird blues music that Robert Crumb was into. I'm very into very old antique-y stuff. And I liked underground comics. I wasn't a massive comic book reader when I was a kid. I read like G.I. Joe and Transformers comics, but I never was into Marvel and I was never into DC. But then like later when I became a teenager, that's when Image came out and like Spawn was released and that kind of stuff. And then I got kind of more into more aggressive adult. And then from that window, I would look through the stuff that was 60s related, and I got to see Zap Comics and things like those. So those are all things that I was into in the 90s. And then all of a sudden, Zwigoff comes out with this movie based on this graphic novel by Daniel Klaus. And I never managed to get the graphic novel before I saw the movie. So it's just like, well, let's go see the movie because Crumb was really cool. Also, I really liked Thora Birch as an actress. At the time, she had just done American Beauty. So I was like, I'm going to go see this. It's got Steve Buscemi in it. Steve Buscemi's great and everything. Let's go see it. And I was just blown away. Everything about the movie, everything about unresolved like ennui that the movie like exists inside of. Even just recently rewatching it, the tone of the movie is so bizarre compared to what normal movies' tones are. It seems like it's a comedy. It sort of seems like it's a coming-of-age movie, but nobody comes of age in it. Mm-hmm. In fact, it's arguable whether Enid and Rebecca's characters, even though they end up at completely different spots at the end of the movie than they started out at, they don't actually seem to have grown at all as human beings. They haven't looked at the bad things that they do as people and ever rectify any of those things. So they're still sort of really bad people at the end of the movie. And I think that's a unique idea to put these movies these characters that are sort of relatable and sort of empathetic, but like overall, they're mean. Rebecca's character is a very mean girl. And when she's nasty to her friends, she's really nasty to other people. And Enid has this completely insane, cruel streak that she puts into her that she starts to feel bad about. And then, but then she ends up in a significantly worse situation where she may actually have a crush on the character of Seymour. Then, of course, there's a sequence that happens later in the movie that I won't talk about that makes it wildly more problematic. And yet everybody in the movie sort of seems like this innocent, where everything they're doing is dumb and mean and objectively bad. And they don't feel like they're doing it because they're mean. I mean, I've never really been able to kind of get what the characters are going for. And then, like I said, the movie's tone just shoots all over the board. Some of the line delivery seems anachronistic. I don't know how to say that word. But it doesn't seem right. Like, it doesn't seem it should be coming out of their mouths or even human beings' mouths. And I love the movie. It really spoke to me. And I went way down the rabbit hole on it. Or as down the rabbit hole as you could go in 2001, where the internet did exist, but it didn't have anywhere near the kind of information that you could pull out of it that you can today. You know, the Bollywood track that opens the film. Like, I couldn't figure out what that was from. Because there weren't thousands of articles on Ghost World on the internet in 2001 telling you what it was. So you'd be combing the credits list of the movie. And I like the jokes that they put inside the movie. I like that Seymour pulls out like a record that Robert Crumb did the artwork for. And he's like, oh, that's a terrible record. And they put it back down there. You know, they've made Seymour's character an amalgamation of Zwigoff and Robert Crumb. And yeah, I love it. I think the performances in it are incredible. I think the idea that Scarlett Johansson is 16, and even though she'd been making movies for about 5 years at the time, and she'd been in a lot of movies, the way she line delivers this movie is like next level. Like, she's so passive aggressive for the entire film that it's like dripping off of her face. And it really works well with her kind of really raspy voice that she kind of got a little more under control as she's become an adult. But in this one, it's almost like her voice cracks like she's a teenage boy hitting puberty. And I think that's really interesting as well. And I also like Ileana Douglas's character is just beyond stupid and just makes the whole movie gleeful for me. Like, it's pretty hard not to smile at all the insane stupidity that she's spouting as this art teacher.
The Mirror, Father, Mirror piece, I think I
love.
And
she's immediately like, it's called Mirror, Father, Mirror. And it's like, of course it is. Like, that's the stupidity that the movie nails down. That you would have this experimental video art teacher who shows you this awful black and white film and then tells you the title of it is the thing that it repeats non-stop for 7 minutes. It's so good.
She reminded me of some of the professors I had at UCF. I feel like that short film, too, reminded me a lot of something I would see in, like, Intro to the Avant-Garde or something. Yeah. It actually reminded me of a David Lynch short film.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a play on some of the AFI Lynch stuff.
I mean, I think this is worse than the Lynch film. Yeah. Is it the Alphabet or something?
The Alphabet, yeah.
I was struck by how much the humor feels like things, especially when I was their age, that I would say to my best friend. Like, when they say, oh, it's so bad that it circled good and went back around to bad again. Or the therefore you are gay. No. Yeah. So like it felt like something that still very much resonates with people of our generation.
Yeah. I think that it's so odd that Klaus, as like a middle-aged man, wrote the dialogue between these two girls. It is very, very, very well written. When I grew up, almost all of my friends, even really to this day, but when I was a teenager, almost all of my friends were girls. And so, like, I would go spend the night on, like, weekends. And that was very odd. Because it's just, like, normally you don't send, like, a teenage boy to go, like, spend the night at a teenage girl's house. Because they're probably touching each other. But we weren't. We would just stay up all night and listen to, like, Lost Boys soundtrack and talk about dumb shit. So I've seen a lot of that conversation in my life. And I'm able to kind of bring it in there. And it is amazing to me that he was able to channel these characters as well as he did. Every part of their relationship feels like they have known each other their entire lives. Mm-hmm. Like, they're standing next to each other at one point, like, swaying to the music, and their hands are palm to palm, back of the hand are out, but they're just, like, in the breadth of like being they're close enough that you know that these are best friends. Like they don't feel like they're standing next to each other in a scene. They feel like this unit like that exists. And I always think that's really interesting about that. And obviously they don't get along, which I think is a really interesting. You could probably speak to this as a girl that had friends that are girls, but obviously I've watched a lot of girl drama. And it is kind of amazing how much girl drama that exists inside this thing where you're mean to each other, but you're not really mean about it. But it's mean.
It is mean. And I think, can't speak for boys, but in my experience too, girl friendships, when they're kind of burning out, getting to the point that these two do in the movie, that passive aggressiveness is so real. Where you just, anything they say to you, you're like, I just have some snarky comeback, or I just do not want to be in your presence. We're definitely not moving in together. Get away from me.
Yeah. I love that the blow up, by the way, that blow up sequence has like the greatest throwaway moment in it, which is they're fighting in front of that apartment building. And behind them is a like 8-month pregnant woman with a beer and a cigarette who just like walks by because Enid's like, this place is a shithole. And she's like, it's fine. And then behind it is this woman in like a nightgown with this baby and like a Budweiser and a cigarette. And I just think like it feels so of the Zap comic underground where you'd have all this stuff that happens in the backgrounds of those comics that has nothing to do with what's happening in the foreground. It's they just stuck it there for fun. I love that.
I love the part where the man comes in to the coffee shop Rebecca's working at, and he comes in every day and Googles
the answer to the trivia question.
It doesn't seem like that should be allowed.
It does. It can't be. And I love it when she looks at her and she goes, he does that every day. And it's just like, if you worked retail, you know that dude. And you hate him.
The glee on his face, too, is so good.
Yeah. And he's like... And I'm just going to be like, get out of my shop. Like, I would have had such... I also love that it's so Starbucks, but it's not a Starbucks. Like, everything they're wearing is like a Starbucks uniform. And it's like, what are you... and I like that she thinks that's definitely her career, and she keeps forcing Enid to try to get a job. And she's like, I have my job. And it's like, you're a barista like at this Starbucks. Like, literally, the year this movie's coming out, you are like absolutely making like $5.25 an hour. Like, right now. Like, this is bad.
Enid at the movie theater was amazing when she gets a job there and she's like accosting the customer over butter on the popcorn.
So, sir, you don't understand the value. Yeah, I do like the guy who's like, don't trash the movie. He's like, why? He's already paid for the ticket. Yeah, Enid's a pain in the ass, but she's pretty great. And she's a great character, and I love the movie so much. It is a movie that feels timeless. It's hard for me to watch it and think that it takes place in 2001. And the movie never obviously establishes a timeline. Nobody like picks up a cell phone or anything, which obviously people had. So I like that they still use a dial-up phone that, you know, in it. I mean, Seymour uses like a Alexander Graham Bell phone, but that tracks. Because it leans into that weird nostalgia flavor, I think I remember reading something that every single thing that's in Enid's room, Terry Zweighoff owned it all.
Wow.
And it's definitely Terry Zweighoff's record collection that Seymour was looking at. That's his real 78 vinyl collection. It's like that movie's set designed within an inch of its life. Like, everything in it is phenomenal. And then the movie has all these kind of great little extra rando elements. And I actually thought watching it as a follow-up to Repo Man is interesting because to me, there is moments of Repo Man. A lot of it is the bus at the ends and things like that, and those shots that echo back to some of what you see. And when I introduced Repo Man, we talked about how Repo Man utilized sections of Los Angeles that nobody ever put on film. Mm-hmm. And then they started showing up years after that all over the place. And I can see that even in Ghost World, which I think is very interesting. And there's almost no way that Zweighoff and Klaus didn't see Repo Man. Like, that's a movie like custom built for them. I'm really excited about it. You know, I don't know how the audience will take it. I think it's a movie that's pretty well beloved. There was an interview with Scarlett Johansson 5 or 6 years ago. I guess it was around the 20th anniversary, where she said, oh, my friends all have 16-year-old daughters and they're all obsessed with this movie. And I can see that. I also do think it's interesting that it's a movie that, from the people that I know that are really, really, really into it, they're entirely women. Like, this is definitely a movie that they saw as alt teen girls at some point in their life and were like, this is my personality now. Like, this is my movie.
I think that makes sense. I think if I had watched it when I was younger, I would have been very obsessed and wanted to be some combination of the two. And I think we watched it last week. Watching back, there's something that feels so truthful about how Enid is clinging to just kind of anything that will delay the adulthood and growing up that Rebecca really is aiming for and playing into, and how Enid interacts with Seymour and how it's kind of not a game for her, but it's just a way for her to further delay this. And for Seymour, it's like entirely his life and very emotionally devastating what her actions are doing. And she just doesn't see that at all. And I think watching it back 10 years older than they are in the film, I was like, wow, that that was very true to, I think, the experience of young women and maybe men as well. But I really related to her with that.
I think you hit a good point, which is that there's, even though we talk about everything she's doing is bad, and honestly, I do think that overall, not black and white, that Enid and Rebecca are not good people, at least on the surface. There actually isn't a ton of malice in what she's doing, and she does have genuine remorse at the original prank, which blows up in her face. It's just that it's this idea of being, she's supposed to be 18, because she just got out of high school, and making every bad decision because you don't have the kind of like history and story and tools to not make those decisions. Mm-hmm. So I never feel like after she initially goes back to see Seymour that there's ever malice or ill will. I think she really wants to find him someone to be with, and I don't think she knows how to handle her own emotions at all, which the movie's pretty clear about. What I do think is interesting about her is that he does have this kind of hero element, or guru. She calls him her hero at the end. He's less her hero than he's her like platonic ideal of what she wants to be, which is that she wants to be misanthropic and she wants to like esoteric shit. Mm-hmm. And I get that because like I felt that way. Like I want to be misanthropic. I hate the world. I'm going to wear my t-shirt, my anarchy t-shirt, and I'm going to wear the like, fuck everybody, I don't care. I like weird stuff, and I want to watch this 1965 Bollywood movie, and I want to get 1920s blues records on 78s. I get all of that. And I think people that flock to alternative cinema and Enzian and midnight movies and cult classics, they're all like that. So I always feel like if I want to talk about some obscure thing from the 30s with someone, I'm bound to find someone in like 5 minutes that can do it. I just think that you don't see that be a woman very often. And that's what I also think is very interesting. And over the years, I've cultivated a lot of those kind of female friendships of people that really are all in on esoterica. For her, I think she's seen like, oh, this is the guy that I want to be like. And maybe she does have true affectionate feelings for it. Because it's pretty easy, I think, to morph that little bit of hero worship into a romantic, not like ideal. He's more problematic in how it goes than she is. Because he drops that line later that's, you must have known I always, and then he drops the line. Mm-hmm. It's something like that. And it's like, okay, so you're 40-ish something, and you are hot for the 18-year-old girl. Like in a problematic way. Even if you like, oh, she's so mature for her age. Mm-hmm. The groomer mantra. But you don't feel that he's a groomer. And he does try to eliminate the problem by backing up with the girl that he ends up dating for a while that is clearly not the better option. Even though on paper, yes, the better option is always going to be don't date the 18-year-old. Date the reasonably age-appropriate woman that's going out with you. But also, you two have nothing in common, so you need to break up. That's also, I think, one of the things that's interesting about it. I'm fascinated to read all the Letterboxd hit-ups on this movie when we play it, because I honestly think there are enough people are going to go into this blind in their early 20s that may pull out more problematic content from the film than I would necessarily look at with 25 years of rose-tinted shades on over it, because we don't live in the world in 2026 that we lived in 2001, and that's definitely not the world we lived in 1993. And I find that a lot when we program a lot of these series. When I intro them, I say things like, please take a moment to remember the movie is a product of its time. It is living inside of a vacuum. Like, it cannot morph on its own. I just read that they're issuing a 4K restoration of Pleasantville. Apparently, they were removing a line of dialogue from Pleasantville that Reese Witherspoon talks about her sex life. And I think they found it was inappropriate now. And now they're trying to retcon the movie by removing it And that is a huge problem from me as a supporter of the arts, is you have to own what you made when you made it.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a problem now, you can talk about why it's a problem now and how it was a problem then, but nobody addressed it. Or maybe it wasn't a problem then and it has become a problem now because times change, people change, social mores change. I can remember when we showed Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, one of the first write-ups was like, the black couple in this film are offensive, racist stereotypes. And that is, I think, not accurate. I don't think that's true. But I've also seen a lot of movies with black people in them from 1970. And believe me when I tell you, they're way less problematic. But one of the things I did say to somebody after it was over, I was like, you have to understand that as whacked out as Beyond the Valley of the Dolls is, that is the first movie that ever had a black man and a black woman go on a date together in film history. That was never happened.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you can say it's problematic, but at the time it was as progressive as you could be. And so you have to look at things like that today. And that's hard to do. And sometimes I have trouble doing it too. I don't think there's a world where I'm going to go back and watch Passengers and be like, oh yeah, he was totally in the right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. And so I'm kind of curious how this one's going to go down that way, because we have had people in the past say like, hey, this has upset me. This was offensive or this was problematic. And if I'd never seen this before and it was 2026, I would definitely be looking at several things that Enid does in this movie and that Seymour does in this movie that I should be like, yeah, you really shouldn't be doing that. Like, this is sketchy. But, in 2021, that might have been more of a thing. I don't know, because I wasn't an 18-year-old girl in 2001.
There's almost a conversation about that, or like that, in Ghost World with the old chicken shop mascot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is sort of an underwriting theme that is in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's an interesting twist on it. They're never clear in the movie if Seymour got fired. I always thought that was kind of interesting for it, but he definitely got in trouble.
I feel like a more traditional movie would kind of throw Seymour a bone at the end. But I liked how his conclusion is he just kind of goes back to his life the way it always was. Yep. It was like, this was just a weird few months in his life where he tried some new things, but now he's going to go back to collecting his 78s and like hanging out with other collectors once a week, and that's just his life, and that's what's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, he espouses pretty clearly in the movie his opinion on living, which is very much like, I hate everyone, I don't want to talk to people, I don't identify with 99% of humanity, and I just want to go with Margaret. He doesn't even like his roommate.
Or doesn't he say something like, I don't want her to like my interests. I hate my interests.
I hate my interests. I think this movie also, and I want to go down a rabbit hole on this someday. Maybe I'll like try to get everybody involved. I really want to dig on the trope of the old man at the bus stop waiting for the bus that will never come, because I just watched The Burrows, and that is an entire plot point in the entire movie, or entire miniseries, is in this facility there's a man who sits at a fake bus stop waiting for the bus to come that's never coming. And I've seen that trope multiple times in other movies, and I didn't even pick it together until I rewatched Ghost World a couple of weeks ago, because I finished The Burrows like about 3 or 4 months ago. And I was like, holy shit, this idea of the guy, and in both of the scenarios, spoiler for The Burrows, the old man's gets picked up by the bus. That's sort of like the great, that's what I love about the ending of it too, because I also kind of like partially feel like this entire movie is Enid's fantasy of her own life. And so I think the idea is, because she says in the movie that her dream she never wanted to tell anybody about was that she would just get on a bus one day and go away and never come back and know whatever she gets. And she does that at the end of the movie. She gets on this phantom bus that's not supposed to exist at the bus stop that's not in service. The same one that the old guy that's been sitting there who keeps telling her, I'm leaving town, And I think that's a really interesting way to end the film, with a little bit of a fantasy element as well, which also I think ties into the movie's tone being all over the map. It's like, well, what if it ends with a possible ending that didn't even happen or couldn't happen?
And it's like an anachronistic bus, isn't it? It's not like a 2000s era bus that pulls up.
Yeah, it's an old bus and no one's on it in either scene. And when he gets on the bus, when she gets on it, the bus is all lit up so that you can very clearly see no people are on the bus. So yeah, it's very much like a question of whether that even is true. Like even that ending's even happening. So if she just went back home and is just like hanging out in her room dancing.
I've seen people respond to it and say, like, is the bus death? Did the old man die and Enid killed herself? Or
Yeah, I think you could probably make an argument there too. I think the high probability is that that's in her head. It's her dream and it's her fantasy to get away. And I think her dream is like, well, if the old guy got away, well, I'll get away too. But it's a great movie. The soundtrack's incredible. It's just everything about it's good.
I went into it expecting a comedy and again was really struck by how human and relatable it was. So I'm really excited to watch it again and see people's reactions too.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the thing. It sells as a comedy, but it's not. It's not laugh out loud funny, except for a couple of pretty great sequences, including pretty much everything that happens in the convenience store, which almost feels like they're from another movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably the sequence where she's working at the movie theater, because it's so dripping in just like absolute next level sarcasm. She could not want to do this job less. Her line is something like, how did she get fired on the first day of work? Yeah, it's pretty great.
I like how kind of just like corporatized that theater is. And
Yeah.
how 25 years later they still look like that.
Oh, yeah, it's great. It's like
They stopped being Cinema Paradiso and just kind of froze in time and like the Starbucksified version of movie theaters.
that theater that they use really reminds me of, there used to be in the Altamont Mall parking lot. It was called the AMC Altamont Twin. And so what is the AMC 24plex was once a twin movie theater.
Oh
it
my
just had a
God.
theater and then a snack bar and enter. And I saw Back to the Future there.
Wow.
I can smell the stale popcorn of that theater when I watch that scene in Ghost World. Because that's obviously a small theater as well, or they're cheating it to be one. Because when she references he already bought the ticket, she aims in that way, as if there are no other theaters but one going in that direction. So I always think of it as like a twin that she's working in. But yeah, it leans like hard into that just horrible polyester uniform that like they would have people at like General Cinemas and stuff wearing, like the terrible vest and like the ties, and all of it looked like, it made me itch just looking at it. So I love it. It's an infinitely quotable movie for me. And I'm very excited about it. I'm also very excited about Welcome to the Dollhouse coming right after it. Those movies feel like spiritual stepchildren
I get that
of
sense.
each other. They both have... Welcome to the Dollhouse is another movie where it's purported to be a comedy, but it's not. Clearly not a... There is a lot of funny stuff that happens in it, but it is not a comedy. And I would say that's very true of Ghost World. There's a lot of really funny stuff that happens at Ghost World, and it is decidedly not a comedy.
I'm excited to revisit Welcome to the Dollhouse after Happiness.
You know, It's
Yeah.
almost kinder, gentler version of Todd Solondz.
Which one is gentler?
Dollhouse. Have either of you seen Welcome to the Dollhouse?
No.
So I can't really tell you about
I saw
this.
it a few years ago. I don't remember too much about
There's
it.
just a very weird dynamic between Heather Matarazzo and Brendan Sexton III's characters, and the things that he says to her that she doesn't understand and he doesn't understand either. So it's very middle schooly, where you would utilize terminology that you have no idea what it really means, and then talk to each other about it in a semi-adult manner. And that, I think, makes some sequences in Welcome to the Dollhouse very, very, very uncomfortable, because as adults understanding of what they're saying to each other, you have to turn that off in your brain and recognize that the two of them talking to each other, neither of them knows what the fuck they're saying. And so if you can get to that point, you can turn off some outrage, I think, that might come down the pipe, which is sort of the opposite of what Solondz does later, which is he takes the outrage to like 12. So here it's a little more sugar-coated. Dollhouse also has a subplot that I think is like the most, arguably one of the most genius subplots ever, which is just that her kid sister's kidnapped. It's not a revelation or anything. It happens very early on, but it's such a weird thing they threw into the movie that I'm a big fan of.
Boogie Nights is celebrating its 30th birthday next year.
Is it?
Will you program it as a cult classics for me?
Is there
My
70?
favorite
Anybody know
movie.
if there's a 70mm print of it?
Sunray was going to play the 70mm print, and they lost one of the reels.
Oh.
I don't know if it was their fault or if
I would love to play Boogie Nights. It's been quite a while. We did last played it probably 5 or 6 years ago. We did it as might have been 2019. We made the the New Year's Eve party, like a Boogie Nights party.
Oh, that's fun.
But yeah, we are putting together for next year. We'll have a 70mm film festival.
Ooh.
So either a week or 2 weeks, we're going to play 7 or 8 70mm prints. So I'm trying to look at what all is available out there that's also semi-contemporary, outside of just the obvious stuff like the Lawrence Arabias of the world that people are like, ooh, or 2001s. Like, what else is out there? Like, could we do The Whole Bloody Affair? Could we do, could we do? And I know that PTA's got some 70 stuff available. I would kill to do Boogie Nights on 70mm. I guess the only problems that come on anniversaries, as a programmer and as an audience, a lot of times the studios will take the film out of distribution for its anniversary year because they're planning their own theatrical re-release. So that happens a lot.
They'll want to run it Regal and AMC. And
yeah, they run it through Fathom, which is a shell company that is owned by Regal, AMC, and Cinemark. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that.
Fathom is owned by Regal, AMC, and Cinemark.
That
is a shell company for distribution.
That's kind of gross, because I think being like Regal Unlimited or AMC A-list members, I'm so annoyed that Fathom Events charge extra.
Yeah. And it's because they're dividing it amongst... I think that's why they charge... It's not why they charge extra, it's why they don't let you use them in any of their rewards programs, because the money's divided amongst different companies.
Interesting.
And it's Fathom's annoying. Like, when we program something that Fathom's doing, we outsell Fathom screening in town by just leagues. I forget, something like a year or two ago, Josh Martin went to Runs on Comfort Brunch, and he was like, you guys are going to show this? And I was like, yeah, we're showing it in like 6 months. He's like, oh, I went to it last night at Regal. And I was like, oh, how was the turning? He's like, there were 6 people in the theater. And then 6 months later, we have 200.
Yeah.
So, there's arguments you can make, there's arguments you can't make when you're picking movies to distribute. And the thing you really can't argue against the studio and say, why would you give that to Fathom if I know that it's only going to have like 7 admissions in Orlando and I can give you 200? And their answer is going to be, well, we're going to put it in 1,200 theaters between Regal and AMC. And so we're not going to not put it in Regal in Orlando because you want to play it at Enzian, because our contract to put it into Regal puts it in every Regal. And so you might be able to do better than every Regal in Orlando, but you can't do better than every Regal in America. And that's a valid argument, I guess. And we lose movies. Like for this year, for Christmas, we're not playing It's a Wonderful Life, which we play almost every year because it's going to get a 75th anniversary release.
That's interesting. Isn't It's a Wonderful Life like kind of famously accessible?
It is. I mean, we're actually going to still play it. We're going to play it outside for the popcorn flicks for the City of Winter Park. But running it theatrically in a theater, we can't do it because Fathom is going to run it.
You can't charge for it?
No. Not shocking. Paige came in and she was like, it's 75th anniversary of It's a Wonderful Life. And I was like, oh, that pretty much guarantees we're not going to be able to book it. So we usually know going in. A lot of times you'll see us play a movie on its 49th anniversary or 51st anniversary. And sometimes that's just because of that as well. So if you ever wonder, like, hey, why are they playing this movie like the year before its 25th anniversary? It's because basically you can figure 20, 25, and then 30, 40, 50, things like that until you get to about 75. If it's a big enough movie, it's going to get a re-release. That's a function of COVID too. Prior to 2020, the amount of repertory content playing in multiplexes, it probably wasn't a tenth of what's playing in them right now. They've got like this Fangoria 12 months of just old horror movies playing for like $5. And it's like, they weren't doing that in 2019. They just figured out what we already knew as programmers that can curate, that 50% of the audience, if not more, want to go see this stuff in the theater that they either saw in the theater when they were kids or never got to see in the theater because they weren't born or alive or were too young. That communicative theater experience still drives that repertory. And now the studios want to get in on it. It makes it more problematic to program Enzian, but I don't really think it stifles me very much as a programmer, because anyone can play Back to the Future and anyone can play Indiana Jones, but not that many people are necessarily playing Faster Pussycat Kill Kill or things like those things. So like, I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over not playing Bad Boys on its anniversary because I can play The Bad Lieutenant instead on its anniversary, which is not going to get a Regal run. And that's more fun. But we always program from a democratic standpoint, which is that I love to play stuff that people will go to and just be happy. And so a lot of the Wednesday Night Picture shows are that way. So it's like Wednesday Night Picture show, and I'm like, we need to play Practical Magic. We need to play Halloween Town. We need to play 13 Going on 30. Like, I'm doing that, not because I don't like those movies. I actually love all of those movies. But even if I didn't like them, I know who likes them and I know they love them. And it's way more exciting for me to play something that I'm like, whatever, and know that 200 people are on a lawn, 300 or 400 people come out there and have the best night of their lives. That's the peak programming thing for me as a programmer. And I think a lot of programmers that I talk to say the same things, is that we ended up programming because we really loved movies, but we really loved showing them to people. Everybody I know that was a programmer did this in their living room before they became a programmer. Josh started Uncomfortable Brunch literally in his living room. Like, we brought beer and orange juice and casseroles over to watch really unpleasant art movies in his living room. And a lot of people I know, they're the same way. Like, people that have been draft house programmers that have been there for 30 years that all did the same thing. And like, we were like, oh, in high school and college, I'd call my friends over to my house and we'd watch movies until dawn. And I'd be the one who picked all the movies out. Now it's sort of not different than what we were doing in my living room too. Like, come over to the house or watch Rocky Horror. What's Rocky Horror? Just trust me.
I got to kind of dip my toes into programming for a little movie marathon we did a couple months ago. Kind of fun to like create the narrative of the movies you're showing.
Yeah.
You know, do I just want to show 5 random movies I like, or what am I trying to say by showing this and in what order?
Yeah, the through line is something that when we program the Florida Film Festival, we talk about that a lot in like a shorts program or something like that. What's the through line? What's the vibe? If these movies don't have anything to do with each other, do they vibe together? And so when I used to do it, I'd call friends over and we call like Tim's Midnight Movie Marathon. And they come over to my house and I was like, hey, we're going to get there and like 9 o'clock and we'll start, drinking and eating some chips and we'll order some pizza. And the screen in the background's playing Grindhouse trailers from 42nd Street off this DVD compilation I've got. And then we're going to play The Sinful Dwarf, this terrible Swedish big film that you never could believe. And after that's over, I'm going to keep the theme going with bad kitty hosts, and like we would do this. And yeah, there was always really fun ways to do that. And even as we talk about putting the Great All-Nighter together for next year, the question is how to do it. And if you look at the Great All-Nighter this past year, that from 2025, the inaugural, there was a through line, and the connector for it was all the interstitial stuff that I put in the 15-minute in between the movies. So it'd be like, oh, well, we're going to launch with Midnight Madness. And the reason we're going to start Midnight Madness is because it starts at midnight, and it's an all-night scavenger hunt through Los Angeles, and it's all these people that are in this movie that are in other stuff that you've seen, like American Wolf in London or Michael J. Fox, but it's his first movie ever, so he's just Mike Fox, and like all of this stuff, and you put this all together, and then it's like, well, when do you come out of that? What's the next movie? And I said, well, it's going to be BMX Bandits. So it's still like people, but now they're on bikes and they're being chased and there's things. And it's Nicole Kidman. And nobody knows who Nicole Kidman is because she's 16. And then we come out of that and there was a little bit of a turn there into Malibu Express. And then it wrapped with the wildlife. And the idea of wrapping with the wildlife is because the movie ends with them destroying the apartment. And then the sun comes up and it's the dawn and they have to deal with the aftermath of this night. And I was like, I want that to happen in the movie, and then I want you to leave and it be dawn outside. Like, you just came out of that party. There was, method to the madness for how it was done. And we used it also to, tease things that we knew we were coming down the line. So I said, well, what if it's funny if a bunch of the interstitials are Ernest P. Worrell commercials from the 1980s, because I know at Christmas I'm going to play Ernest Saves Christmas. I'm keeping you in the vibe of the era that all these movies took place in, which all the films that we showed in that were between 1980 and I think 1985. What if we kept the commercials the same? What if we kept them as the music the same? And then what if we used it also to tease things that I want to do down the line that won't make any sense to you now, but you might get it later? That was fun. But it also took a year to put it all together.
I bet.
And spreadsheets of running times of clips of stuff we were finding on the internet. And we used to do that a lot more with Freaky Fridays as well. But there is only so much you can do and so much you can show before you start to become redundant. And so that's probably the hardest part of programming, is to keep it fresh. Mm-hmm. But it's what I'm doing. And I'm pretty sure this is the last thing I'm going to do in my career. So I'll have to drag me out of there, bury me in the theater. I like bringing up programmers. That's my thing that I really appreciate the most about doing this, is being able to functionally find people I'm way better if I steal other people's ideas too, but I always give them credit for it. So I'm just like, oh, she picked this out, or he picked this out, or my friend told me about this. Like, I never want to be like, I knew all of this magically. Like, I'm happy to tell you, like, I found this because of this. This is how I got it. And I usually do that in a lot of my intros. Mm-hmm. It's a weird way to do it because I've seen a lot of programmers' intro movies, but not a lot of them go up there and just tell you why they picked the movie. Maybe people don't find it interesting, but I always think it's important to explain why I'm standing here to talk about this movie, when I saw it, what was going on in my life at the time I saw it, and how that affected or influenced either the way I got to the movie or what I came out of the movie and went to find. So like Paige and I just did that on Repo Man. We really talked about, like, well, how'd you find Repo Man? And I was like, well, it wasn't even my first Alex Cox movie. And it's arguably his only successful movie. And so it's weird for it to not be your first Alex Cox movie. And then of course she was like, oh, well, Mark, he used to play it all the time when we were growing up. And, so we just we're just like inundated with Repo Man as like children. Weird flex. But yeah, I think that's interesting. And also I think probably it gives you an idea of who your programmer is and what they're doing. I think a lot of our success is that people trust that if we put it up on the screen, there's probably value in seeing it. And so I do take that trust very seriously, which is why little things like, oh, I hated it and upset me. Well, I would literally was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've definitely gone to things there because you were showing it. Whether or not I cared about the movie, I'm like, you're showing it, so
that's the goal.
Check it out.
Because I think at the end of the day, the worst you carry them out with is, I didn't like that movie. And the best you come out with is like, holy crap, this exists? What else is there? So I'm willing to put that risk out there because you take that no matter what you buy a ticket to. My hope is that you're like, holy shit, dude, how did I not know this existed? And that's, like I said, that's the whole concept of Freaky Fridays, but we do that outside of that with all kinds of other stuff. I love that. And I love when Paige comes in and says things like, we have to show all about Lily Shoo Shoo because it's on anniversary and everybody loves it. And I'm like, do they? Because I was like, I saw it and it's really good, but like, do people talk about this movie? And she's like, of course they do. And I was like, well, then we should play it. And so then we play it and it's completely packed and it's incredible. And that's so good. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what makes all the non-sleeping worth it. I'm very happy with what we're doing. I think there's the best stuff still to come. I'm sure now that we unlocked so much other 35mm content, basically a decade of things I wanted that I can't do are maybe on the table now. So we'll see.
That is exciting. The Enzian and you and Paige and everyone else that works there just create such a special environment. We met there, like we said, we've made a lot of friends there. It's the best place to go and watch a movie and talk about it after and get a drink and a meal and just have a great night.
Well, we really appreciate you guys. I really do. Well, thank you for having me on, too.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Do you have any other upcoming events or anything you want to shout out?
I mean, September 1st, we're going to announce the 13 films of Halloween. All I'll tell you is there's 18 of them. And there 2 are online already. So the Nosferatu with the live string quartet, the new score that they wrote is on there, and the Popcorn Flick in the Park, which is Monster House, which is so much a fun movie.
That scared me so bad when I was little.
We showed it once for the kids' Halloween party, and we actually is the only thing we've ever played, other than one person who was mad at Frankenweenie because the dog dies, and I had to try to not say, that's the whole plot of the movie. Like, if you came to Frankenweenie and you're upset the dog dies, you don't know what you bought a ticket to. Because if the dog does not die, there is no movie.
Yeah, there's a Franken.
It's like the John Wick of stop motion animation. If the dog does not die, there is no more movie. But Monster House is the only one where people were like, our kids were terrified. And I was like, this movie was made for 5-year-olds. I am sorry that they're not building 5-year-olds the way they used to. It was pretty funny. So we didn't play that. But there's some really great stuff in there. It really runs the gamut. I'm very excited about that. And then most of the rest of it's on Enzian's website already. We've got most of the rest of the year up there, but you'll start to see the Halloween stuff come in, and eventually the Christmas stuff will come in. And we'll have the whole year wrapped up. So I'm very excited about all of it. But like I said, I'm excited about Ghost World. I'm super excited about Welcome to the Dollhouse. I'm really excited in November. We're going to do Noirvember. So the 35 screenings are going to be Stanley Kubrick's The Killing and The Third Man. And that's a 75th anniversary of The Killing, which is hard to believe. It's shocking to me to conceive that The Killing is 75 years old.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And probably it's because I saw it in 1991, or 1992, right after I saw Reservoir Dogs, because Reservoir Dogs said if you like Reservoir Dogs, see The Killing and The Asphalt Jungle, which did not make any sense. But The Killing did, because whole swaths of Reservoir Dogs are stolen from The Killing. I'm very excited about that. And also is allowing us to flex cult classics way older than what we've been able to do, because a lot of what we're doing on the old system had to be prints that pretty much were the original prints from when the movies ran. You were stuck at the 80s, 90s, 2000s, because the prints prior to those were all archival. And so you couldn't get them. So to be able to go in and grab a movie from 1956 and a movie from 1940s and play those on 35 millimeter, that's cool as hell.
Yeah.
Because that's the stuff that it's going to look amazing, because those blacks are shot on that film. They're going to be on that film. The Third Man is from the original map, the original print. The new print that's struck off it is off the original. So it's going to just be gorgeous. Hopefully you're going to see more of that and a little more of some weird stuff that comes from going that way, back into the end of the Hays Code. So like pre-67 films coming in.
Oh,
wow. Classics. So you get to see more of the kind of old school stuff, especially if you're not dialed into that stuff. It'll be a lot of fun to pick through it. Mostly because you can see how much it influenced stuff that you watch today.
Anything else from you?
I don't think so. Just thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I mean, like she said earlier, you were our day one fan, literally. So we've definitely been looking
Yeah,
forward to
I was
this.
excited. You guys have it's a really good podcast, because I just feel like your insight is really solid. Like when you talk about the movies, like a lot of what you say is like, oh yeah, that's exactly what was running through my head when I was watching it.
Thank you. We really appreciate that. And thank you to everyone listening. This is coming out the day before Ghost World is playing at the Enzian on August 25th. So is it sold out?
No, it's not. And hopefully you've seen it, or we just told you a lot of stuff that's happening in the movie.
So come see us and Tim there if you're interested. Also catch us at Welcome to the Dollhouse. And we're at the Enzian like 3 times a week. So see us there and Tim anytime.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for listening to this episode on all things Tim and Ghost World. And we can't wait to talk to you next week. Bye.
Did you nut? As usually you